both colored and born free. Colored is a racial classification given to me by an apartheid government, and born free refers to people born after 1994 into a supposed free and racially undivided democratic South Africa. In this project, I dissect my experience as a so-called colored, and I created music centered around themes important to this experience. These themes include transformation, the colored identity, the black and colored relationship, and the colored mentality. My aim is to bring awareness, inspire, and create a sense of hope, empowerment, and unity within the South African experience. As far as my compositional approach, it's in my nature to do things intuitively. So in writing music for this project, I spent a lot of time trying to understand the subject and made choices regarding melodies, harmonic colors, and grooves, mostly based on feeling. I also took an electronically produced approach to some of the songs, as this informs my musical identity. These are some of the genres and musicians I drew influences from. So the first song is called An Incomplete Transition. When talking about post-apartheid South Africa, we have to speak about how the lack of complete transformation has led to a fragile, unequal society between race and class groups. In a recent study by the World Bank Group, they found that South Africa is the most economically unequal country, and that racial inequality is a prominent factor behind this. So with An Incomplete Transition, I used this harmonically ambiguous piano ostinato to create the expectation of something promised but never being delivered. I also included a quote by social commentator Dr. Leonard Martin, in which he talks about abolishing notions of race to complete the transformation process. We will now listen to the head from where the melody starts and a little bit of the piano solo section.
Racism is a deep disease in our social political fabric, and for the next generations, the responsibility of our leaders in this generation is to clear the ground in order for a healthy humanity to take place, to actually redesign, reconfigure our social space in order for that equality, but also human self-respect to begin to grow again.
So as most of you know, apartheid was a system of institutionalized racism, and this race hierarchy was based on the Population Registration Act, which classified and divided citizens according to their race and ethnicity. From top to bottom, this hierarchy was white, Indian, Asian, colored, and black. Let's quickly understand the South African context of colored and black. I've also included actual extracts from the population registration. As you can see, black people make up 79% of the South African population, and they are descendants of Nguni people, which is a group of Bantu people who speak primarily Nguni languages. And colored people only make up 9% of the South African population. And they are not only mixed race, but they are a multi-ethnic group of people with ancestry that includes Khoisan, the first indigenous people of Southern Africa, as well as Bantu, European, and Asian. It's worth noting that race and ethnicity can be highly subjective, and the lines between these two concepts often become blurred. So because the colored identity is not homogeneous, classifying a multi-ethnic group under one label creates problems in the way we see ourselves and in the way society views us. With this theme, I specifically wanted to focus on a part of our identity that often gets denied, our Africanism. Already in the Population Registration Act, we are seen as not native. So our Black African identity is important, since this leads to the socio-economic marginalization when it comes to reparations in a post-apartheid South Africa. The song Bentlamini Stomp was inspired by recent protests in South Africa by colored communities reclaiming this African history. The First Nation movement is a group advocating against the socio-economic exclusion of colored, Khoisan, and mixed-race people. To get a sense of what this looks like, this is a specific protest that happened in Johannesburg last year, known as the Gauteng Shutdown.
Here's the challenge coming to the Premier. When will you visit all classified colored areas to see how much you have neglected us?
So personally, I've often battled with my own identity as African, and through many conversations, especially this one with Randy Weston in his Brooklyn home, as well as a book by Sylvia Vollenhoven, in which she speaks about finding belonging by listening to messages from your ancestors in your DNA, I've decided that firstly, I am African. Politically, I am black as a protest against this colonial classification. I'm pictured here with my family in front of their home on the Cape Flats, an area where many colored people were forcibly moved during apartheid. Culturally, I am colored. The name Bendlamini comes from a nickname I was given by black musicians in South Africa, which combines my name with a Nguni name by way of acknowledging my black African identity. I attempted to combine all these identities together in a protest song or stomp, which is created by this piano and bass ostinato figure. So, thank you. So within the created identities of colored and black, it was a part of an apartheid divide and rule strategy that was meant to inhibit the development of political alliance. So the relationship between these two groups are frequently based on a perceived lack of similarity and a heightened awareness of difference. With Kwaito Klopse, I plan to musically show how we are more alike than we are different by fusing the grooves of two music traditions, namely the Klopse tradition and Kwaito music, as well as highlighting South Africa's love for dance and dance music through creating a dance track. Klopse is a minstrel tradition born out of the abolishment of the Cape slave trade. It's very similar to the Mardi Gras tradition in New Orleans. This is what it sounds like. Kwaito music is a variant of house music which features the use of African styles and electronic samples. It emerged in the black townships of Johannesburg during the 1990s. It's also worth noting that these are Pantsula dances. It's a dance culture that was derived, that Kwaito music was derived from. I'll reference this later again. So from these two grooves, I developed my own groove in 5/4, which is held together by Danilo's 5/4 clave. The bass and piano parts imply a 4/5 feel, but is separated by an eighth note. I merge the Klopse and Kwaito kick snare pattern, and the melody that you'll hear later is simply a pentatonic, based on a pentatonic scale, which is characteristic of the African diaspora. In the next video, I've added a score so you can understand the development of the groove. And I've also synced this with a Pantsula dance, as well as added a scratch vocal track so that you understand the context of this music. This features South African vocalist Sakile Molesh. So what is the colored mentality in a post-apartheid South Africa? To understand colored people's attitudes towards South Africa, I looked at the South African Reconciliation Barometer, which is a survey done to measure citizens' attitudes towards social cohesion and transformation. And to understand how this attitude has manifested, I looked at race-based statistics. And this is what I found. There seems to be a cycle perpetuating a colored mentality of a low self-thinking. So if you look at it, it starts with a sense of socioeconomic marginalization, leading to minimal class mobility, leading to disillusionment in the current administration, and an obscured social identity, which then develops this low self-concept, destructive thinking, evident in many of these statistics. Having said that, the next song reflects my hope for the self-empowerment of colored people by breaking free from an apartheid mentality that was meant to diminish their self-worth. It is in 3 parts. acceptance, metamorphosis, and the resurgence. We will now listen to the song Uninterrupted, and as you listen, please read through my intention as well as the musical execution thereof. Thanks. I do believe that racial inequality in South Africa is not specifically a colored issue, but we cannot deny people's lived experience. What makes this issue important to me is that here we have people that have been denied their history and their place in South Africa. They are trapped in terms of class and social mobility, and as a minority community, they are often overlooked. Going forward, colored people will have to reimagine an identity that is not just stereotypical but allows for different possibilities. What's important for us as Black
Wow, what a powerful presentation.
Thank you.
Woo! I forgot to mention in the introduction that Benjamin advisor is Bruno Raber, and in the committee, Terri-lyne Carrington, so I'm immediately passing the microphone to you. That's what we do.
The rules changed since last year. That puts me in the hot seat again. Okay. Wow, I don't even know what to say, because it really brought up a lot of emotion for me, and that's kind of the reason for me personally why I do music, is to feel things. And, you know, just the parallels between, you know, racial injustice in this country and racial and cultural problems and racial injustice in your country. It's so great to see those parallels, because it makes us definitely understand more that we're a global community, because people tend to live, you know, in their silos. Anyway.
No, I thought it was really excellent, and I love the way you showed the difference from the South African experience as opposed to the American experience, the little I know about it, because people over here don't quite understand how it works over there, or how it worked. And what I also really loved was the way you presented the tradition, but in a contemporary fashion, and I thought it was great how you kind of, and I think you're really onto something with that. Yeah. Man, you're great.
I love it. This year position of mine is the kind of the last comment, so I had to throw some punches, you know. But it's coming out of love. This presentation, first of all, the level is so inspiring and high, you know. So I was thinking, wow, how do we follow up to Connor? And this is what it takes, vision, you know, to a different thing. You all getting into different things and excited about the world. In your case, I'm gonna explain. This is so inspiring, Benjamin. This is like UNESCO material. You know, you have to. I hate that word, you have to, but you must. You had to, you know, UNESCO, you got to present this. This could become something very special for you, for your people, for the voice. This can come out really strong. I actually disagree with what Marco said about the clave. I'm gonna be like the guy from the Will Ferrell show, more cowboy. You know, yeah. So it's not really about the clave being lower or not being there. It's about the invisibility of those things that Terri-lyne is talking about. It's like, how do you create a pattern and then create the illusion that you're going for what is there? What is there? You know what I mean? It's not. It's really, you know, it's like Wayne teaches about, you know, you want to go to see what's in the mountain, like what's beyond beyond the sound barrier, we call it. You know, so you keep that in mind. I'm not gonna say much because this is really powerful, and I've seen the amount of time and work you put into, man, and I'm a big fan of all this class this year, all of you guys. And I want to leave you with this thought of this year, meeting you as being really, really a learning experience for me, grow a lot. Let go of certainty. Certainty, it could be deceiving sometimes. The opposite is not uncertainty. It's openness. Creativity, which is curiosity, willingness. Embrace paradox. You're moving to New York now, so embrace that paradox that's coming at you. Rather than making decisions like this or that, keep doing that. You did it this year. The ultimate challenge is not to accept ourselves. It is to accept ourselves as we are. That's what you did this year, man, for me. But never stop trying to learn and grow. You are into something very special, brother. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Okay, Benjamin Jephta.